Alrighty. Hi everyone and welcome to our Blutui webinar and the release of Canopy 2.0. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm Kat, Head of Commercial Operations at Blutui, and I'll be taking you through just the first part of today's session. You'll also be hearing from a couple of my colleagues. We have Tyler, our Principal Engineer and UK Agency Lead. He's going to show you Blutui in action. And Dion is one of our front-end developers, and he's going to walk you through our latest release of Canopy. So as we go through the webinar, please feel free to drop any questions in the chat, and we'll go through those together at the end. Now, some of you may have spoken with Graham Blake, who's our CEO and founder. He can't be with us today as he's travelling, but you'll still hear plenty about him because he is where the whole Blutui story starts. So let me start there because it tells you a lot about why we build the way that we do. Graham has worked in agencies throughout his career and founded a number of them himself. His most recent agency was focused on building websites. But every time his team built a website for a client, they had to stitch together a handful of different tools to get it done. None of them were made for the way that an agency actually works. So he went looking for one product built for agencies that could handle the whole job in one place. He did, in fact, travel the world searching for a platform that hit the mark, but unfortunately, none of them did. So he put together a team that could build the solution that he needed, and that's where Blutui came from. Here's the thing, though. The problem he ran into hasn't gone away, and if anything, it's gotten worse. We're bringing in all these different AI tools, and there's so many tool options out there, but it means that most agencies today are running their web work across a pile of different tools. One to design, one to build, one to host, and something else again for content or for edits, and then just keeping track of it all. So every client site ends up living in its own slightly different setup, and usually the case with agencies is that there's one or two people within the team that know everything about that client, but then that brings a risk as well because if that person leaves, it can be hard to scramble together because when everything is spread out like that, you lose that one source of truth. There's no single page where the whole picture lives. So making a small edit, adding a page, updating a client's site, it all takes longer than it should because first you have to go and find where everything is and then multiply that across every client that you look after. It adds up really fast. So what is Blutui and why is it different? So Blutui is an agency web ecosystem. So in plain terms, it's one platform that brings all of those pieces together. You build, you launch, and you manage every site all in one place, and it's made for agencies. And that's the part that makes us different. Most platforms are built to do one job, or they're built for any Joe Blogs who wants to dabble in web design. But Blutui is built for how agencies work. So with Blutui, every client site lives in one place. You build it in the platform, you launch it from the platform, and once it's live, editing is really simple. So there's no jumping between tools, trying to remember which system a client's site is sitting in, and it gives you that one place, one source of truth for every site that you manage. And that's the thinking behind Blutui. We didn't build it from the outside looking in. We built it because we've lived the problem and we made the platform that we wish that we'd had. But you don't need to take my word for it. The best way to understand Blutui is to see it in action. So I'll hand over to Tyler and he's going to take a prototype design and turn it into a fully functioning website. So over to you, Tyler.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Kat. Let me share my screen. And before I jump straight into taking a prototype design, I'll step you through the agency console, which is the place where your advertising agency can kind of manage all of its web projects, and then also give you a very short demonstration of some other sites that are built on the Blutui platform. So this first site is a simple one-page landing page style site. It's got some micro animations. It's like a for all terms and purposes, a very simple one-page landing page style site that advertising agencies are kind of building day in, day out. And previously, a site like this would maybe take a week for our agency to build. But now, thanks to the efficiencies of Blutui, we're able to build a site like this in less than a day. It's a site, it's like a one-page landing page, maybe has like a contact form at the bottom, and some micro animations. This is the kind of site that Blutui can just build so easily. And that's by like a single front-end developer. But then on the other end of the spectrum, we have Golden Homes. Golden Homes is a house and land package, like property developer style website. So I can do things like I can browse like all the different properties they're selling in many different regions. I can view the plans for new properties or show homes. But more importantly, there's 20 plus people logging into the back end of this site, and they're managing all of these hundreds of pages that have powering this quite large site. So normally a site like that would be built by like a full stack team, maybe on a full stack web framework, thinking PHP's Laravel, and then you'd have a front end dev and a back end dev kind of working together over the course of maybe what would be 6 to 8 weeks. But thanks to Blutui, a single front end developer was able to build the entirety of this site in under a month. So we've gone from being less time and also less skill sets required. And now the same developer that can build front-end landing pages that would normally be on a different platform can now also build like small-scale web applications. So I'll jump straight into the agency console. The agency console is, as I said, it's where you can kind of manage all of your projects, domains, people, and branding. So I can click here and I can view all of my live sites. There's 170 live sites, and I can log into the back end or the CMS just with the click of a button. I can view all of my agency's domains. Once domains are connected to Blutui, I can do things like redirecting that domain or moving like a domain from one site to another. I can do all that just easily in the agency console by clicking a button instead of having to go into a DNS and then asking someone to change a DNS record and then having to wait for it to propagate. I can just do it straight away in Blutui. And then finally, in the agency console, I can edit my agency's branding, team, and like roles and permissions. So a core part of Blutui is that it's a white label platform. That lets me configure my agency's brand. And that's the brand that my client will see throughout their entire journey in their Blutui website. So when they log in for the first time or when they see the CMS, they see a platform branded as your agency, or another option is actually branded as their own business. And then I can obviously invite people into the platform, create custom roles and permissions for different features on the platform. And then I can also limit people down on like a site-by-site basis as well. So maybe I don't want to give our CEO like limited privileges on every site. Maybe he only needs to have limited privileges on one site. So I can give him just that specific privilege that he needs. But let's go into something a bit more practical. With the click of a button, I can change from one agency to another. So I've jumped into a demonstration agency now, and I can view all of the projects on this agency. So down the bottom here, we have this site called Burgatorium. Burgatorium is a restaurant hamburger website. So I click this and then go to the actual CMS of the site itself, and I can give you a quick preview of the site. So it's like a pretty simple hamburger restaurant site. I've got a menu, I've got a contact form, and obviously I've got like the menu, not just the mobile menu. And I've got some basic filters here, and I can click in and view my different product pages. So let's say I need to make a big change to the site, because I'm going to skip over our in-page editor now because we've got some more exciting stuff to show with that later on. But let's say I need to build like a new page for the site, or in a similar workflow would be building a whole new site from a Figma file. So the first step is using our Courier command line tool. Courier is a tool that connects the Blutui cloud to my local development environment. So I can go to my terminal and I can run Courier pull. This will download all the project files from the Blutui cloud and can be opened up wherever I like. So I open in VS Code, like the Microsoft code editor. So here we are. We've opened up our site in VS Code. And with one command, I can run Courier dev. And that's going to open like a local development environment for me to preview my changes that I'm building locally here on the local development environment. And that also includes all the production database data. So maybe someone made a new Canopy edit and they've changed some in-page content, or more importantly, they've maybe added a whole new menu, like a whole menu range, like vegan menu or something, and they've added hundreds of different products in, and then for some reason the template's broken and I need to quickly fix that. Well, I don't need to worry about going onto the production server and backing up the database. I can locally access that production data so I can build and test to make sure that my fix will actually work once it's deployed to the cloud. And that's as simple as just going courier dev. You don't have to set up really anything else. So over here I have Figma and the Figma file for our site here. And on the right we have this. This is like a new store opening soon page. It's a fairly simple page, but it's got some text copy, it's got an image, and also importantly, it has a contact form. So we're going to build this page today. So I can go over to, well, the first step's kind of just opening it in Figma. I've clicked on the page, it's in my screen, done. I go over to VS Code and I can write a prompt. So go make this page from Figma and Blutui using Canopy elements. Make the CMS and give it some placeholder SEO. Excuse my typing. Make a form in the CMS also and give it the handle news made opening today, news store 13. Sure. Cool. I'll kind of, as this is like running in the background, I'll kind of walk you through my prompt somewhat. So I've gone make this page from, hopefully it's going to work out that I want Figma. I did Figure and Blutui using Canopy elements. So basically the first step is, hey, go to Figma, access the design context, which it's just done for me, so I worked it out. And then using Canopy elements. So I guess for people using Blutui in the future, and maybe Ben as well, from Subvert, who's in this call, it's using like Canopy blocks would be a better prompt. But for this site, we're just going to be using Canopy elements, which is basically saying, hey, I want everything you build to be in-page editable. Maybe this content on the Figma file is like a placeholder content, or it still just needs to be edited by the client at a later date. So I want that to be really easy in using our Canopy in-page editor. Furthermore, using Canopy blocks, which is like the updated version of Canopy I'll show you later, we want the page to be like reusable and the code elements to be really easily reusable from one page to another. Then I also said, make the page in the CMS along with the form as well, because I don't just want like code as a result of this. There's many platforms that do like prompt to code. Well, I want prompt to finished product. So it's going to do exactly that. It'll make the page for me in the CMS. It'll set up my template files. It'll even write some placeholder SEO. And then finally, it's also going to build the form in the CMS as well. So it's not just like a HTML for a form. It's a form that'll send submissions to my client, or have a backend to the form submissions have somewhere to go. It's a fully working form, not like what you get if you just like pasted the code and then had to host it as well. And obviously I want everything hosted for me. I don't want to have to copy paste code and move it from one place to another. So I'm going to get exactly that. And the AI agent's just been working through, and it's also caught a little error. So like the page title was malformed. It was like a response from our Blutui API. So it's going to correct that as well. It's all part of like the checks essentially for the Blutui backend, making sure that the work that the AI agent is making is correct and proper. So as I'm just waiting for this last steps of this prompt to complete, I can see I've got my layout files built, saying here's your form and here's your page. So /news store 13 August. There's obviously like a placeholder URL. We can change that later. But all I need to do is copy this URL. Now I can go back to my local host window and open it. Open exactly this page. We've even got some like help text that wasn't maybe quite from design, but it's pretty. Well, it's almost essentially exactly our Figma file now running as a website on our local site. So what's next? This is obviously running locally. I need to put it on like a staging branch for my client to see. Well, all I need to do is go back to my terminal and run one command, so I can stop the courier dev from running. I'm going to run courier push. All of that work we packaged up and deployed to a different cassette. Cassette, which Dion will give a better demo for momentarily, is a tool that allows you to have multiple website front ends for a singular backend. So here in this little cassettes tab, I can see the cassette we're just working on. It's just one of this little green tag. And I can preview it. I can send a preview link to my client, for example. I go back to my URL and go /new store 13 August. Here we go. Here's our work from Figma now running on a preview link on the Blutui cloud. And I can do some final bits of work. Maybe I want to go to the project dashboard. I can go into our pages. I don't really like that URL. The AI didn't really choose the best, so I can edit that really easily. And click save. Okay, now it's ready to go live. I can put this live. It's as simple as clicking the 3 dots beside whatever cassette you want to put live, and then going set as active, and it'll deploy your work. There's a lot more to the agency console, the site dashboard than just that though. So here I've edited our page. We can do things like messing around with site assets. We've got a pretty smart little asset picker that has a whole bunch of little automations in it as well. Things like, automatic image compression, but then also we use news models to resize images as well. So let's say you have like a really large file size for some like really large image that the designer's given you. Well, you can upload that to the Blutui assets tool, and then you can request that image on a different size or different file format even in the template. And then we'll use our tool to compress and resize or format that image the first time that's ever loaded. And then that compressed version will just be continuously served to any future users. So you don't need to worry about, taking your 2 megabyte image and making like a thumbnail square version and a WebP version and a PNG version. You can just upload one asset into the asset manager, and then in the front end template, you can kind of request that asset in many different forms. We have a forms building tool, something that you don't need to use too often now that we have the MCP server, but it does still exist. It allows me to really easily view my form submissions, like if someone had submitted a new store opening request that we just did, or maybe I need to add a new input. I don't want to use the MCP. I can just click add field, and I can add maybe a text field, like if someone's, or wouldn't be a text field, like a checkbox, for example. Maybe I wanted to add like a checkbox for if or not someone was vegan. So I'd do like a checkbox, like diet requirement, for example. You just like fill up these. Yeah. So I can edit these inputs. We have a really easy drag and drop menu builder. So I can edit things on the main menu. I can click, drag and drop. I want to maybe nest this below an item or just reorder it. I can drag and drop and move these menu items around. I can toggle them whether they're active or not, or make them open a new tab. And then last but not least, we have a collections tool. So collections is like a relational, like a one-to-many relational database building tool. So it allows me, for this example, to build out our whole menu. So we've got our categories and items. And obviously, all these different items belong to a category. So you've got desserts, drinks, bundles, and all these different items. When I request all my drinks, it's going to request all these different products based on the category they belong. And then I won't get into them too much today. We have a whole bunch of site settings. This is things like user management and webhooks tools for if you want to connect like a CRM up to Blutui. You can all find those settings in the site settings here. But what we're all really here for is to view the Canopy in-page editor. That's probably the most important and impressive part of this demo. So I might hand over to my colleague Dion now, and he can show everyone the new version of Canopy.
So before I move on to Canopy blocks, our new version of the Canopy in-page editor, I'll just go through what cassettes are, which, as Tyler explained briefly, are the multi-versioning of your front end on Blutui. So let's go to the Burgatorium block site. Just click on preview. And here we are. This is the new Burgatorium site. And this is Halloween themed. So it just shows you what you could do with cassettes, where if you had a certain occasion or a certain deal or a certain festival that you're celebrating, you can create a version of your site. So this one's the Halloween version of the Burgatorium site. For now, I'm going to move back to the default version of our site. So it's as easy as setting that cassette as active. And now your live site's the original version, which is this. Sweet. I'm just going to go to the Canopy editor. Easy. So this is the new Canopy in-page editor on Blutui. And one of the new features for this editor is blocks, which is a different way of managing your content for a content editor on your site. So you can click on your block, you can view all of the block content, you can easily edit the content, you can add a new block, and your developer could set various Canopy blocks for you, which then the content editor could use and build the page. Sweet. So there's a problem. Oh no, for our burgatorium site, and there's a gluten contamination in one of our sauces. So what would a content editor do to add, some copy or a block to let every user know, or anyone who's purchased the sauce, that something's off? So let me add the notice banner block. Over here you can see, sweet, the block's added in. You can go change the copy. I'm just going to keep it the same. You could change the image, select a new image. Maybe you want some new copy, some lorem ipsum, something like that. Sweet. And when you're happy with that, you click apply. I'm just going to cancel it because I don't want these changes. And I've added a new block. I'm going to hit save. And that's it. You can hit preview, and that's the live version of your site. You got this new block. You can go into it, and it'll take you to the product recall page. It'll tell you. So you can imagine a flow where a content editor, without touching code, could do this sort of thing, which before would require a developer to help you out with that. I'm going to move on to a bit more complex example of what blocks could do. So this is a music site, essentially. I'm just going to click preview. The animations are a bit choppy when you share the screen, but in real life, this is a lot smoother and looks a lot nicer. So this is just a music site. Midnight Frequencies is the band. They got some merch, some tour dates, newsletter, all that fun stuff. And this is an example of an extreme, not an extreme, but like a use case of blocks where the developer has given the content editor a lot more power with what they can do with the website layout. So over here, I can click on the block. You can edit the content, the visibility, the style. You can even change the layout. So maybe you want a navbar to be a sidebar instead of a top navbar. There we go. Let me just apply the change. You can even change the animations. Maybe I want like a cool grid pattern or a swirl. And we can even change the colors. So maybe I want a bit of red in there. And my theming is not great, but sweet. You can do that. You can edit the content. You can even edit the style in which the hero section is displayed. And over here, you can see there's really a lot of customization options that the content editor has. And that just shows you the power of blocks. You could set your block and give as much access as you need to. And it all makes it very easy to manage the copy content and make the changes. I can hit apply to that. Let me just go back. Oh, my bad. I'm just going to change it again. I think I canceled my changes. Yeah, I'm going to change the color maybe. Make it a bit blue. Apply. I'm happy with those changes. Click save, and then I preview, and that's your live site. So it's as easy as that. Recently, we also had a request, a feature request where collections needed to be connected to Canopy blocks. I think that was by the Subvert guys. And we thought that was actually a really good use case, and we've since implemented that feature. So now you could even connect your collection entries to blocks, and that makes it way more powerful as well. But that's it. That's the new Canopy in-page editor on Blutui. I'm going to hand it back to Kat, and she'll take it from there.
Thank you, Dion, and thank you, Tyler. So that's Blutui in action. You've seen how quickly a design becomes a live site and what Canopy can do once it's there. Now let me cover off a practical side. I have a software implementation background, and so I know the thought that might be running through your head at the moment is how hard is it to actually get going on Blutui? And the honest answer, it's not hard. There's no setup timelines, there's no setup fees, and we can chat with your team and have them up and running inside of about an hour, and they could be building websites that afternoon. So you don't need to block out weeks, and you don't need a technical team just to get you started. On pricing, we've kept it really simple. You pay per seat across your whole agency. So that means that every user who needs access to that agency platform pays for that user. Your clients access, because they're just in the editing part of the platform, there's no fee for that. And then there's just a fee per project for any of your live sites. So as soon as you make a site live, that's when you start paying that project fee. But say it's only a 2-month project, as soon as you turn it off, then you don't need to pay anymore, and that includes your hosting. So there's no surprises, there's no hidden extras, and when we bring out these new features, which we do quite often because we get some great feedback and our team can't wait to implement them. So it's all included, and you know exactly what each site is costing you. And before you commit to anything, you're welcome to have a free trial, so that you can get in and your team can get in there and you can see how it actually works and have a play around with it. To organise that, you can email me at which is Kat, @blutui.com. And if anything's landed for you today and you want to talk through your own agency setup, it's something that we love doing. We enjoy hearing how your agency works and see how we can make Blutui work for you. So now I don't think we have any questions, so we must have covered everything off. But if anyone does have any questions, please contact me. Again, that's kat@blutui.com. And yeah, we really look forward to working with you. So thank you so much for joining us today.